I want to give you the big school numbers right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's been over 2 months of lockdown. Students in their millions across the country have not been attending classes because all schools, all educational institutions have been completely shut. But I'm going to focus on schools now, not colleges. That's for another day. Schools have been closed. Studies have been impacted. It's been 88 days since every single school in this country has been completely shut. The number of schools that have been closed, 15,22,346. That's the number of schools that have been closed. Over 32 crore students have not been able to attend classes all this while. Some of those students have been able to attend classes online through Zoom, as you may be familiar with. Many students haven't had that luxury. So what happens now? We can tell you that the government is now looking to formulate guidelines ahead of schools reopening once again. It could happen as early as this August. As India begins to open up, the biggest question is if schools should be reopened as well. If you're a parent or if you're a student, you're wondering exactly this. The question is, how will they reopen? The HRD ministry is working on a plan to reduce the school syllabus as well as school hours for the current academic year to make up for the loss caused by the coronavirus crisis. The ministry has sought suggestions from all stakeholders in this regard. Schools across the country have been closed since March the 16th when the centre announced a countrywide classroom shutdown. A decision on reopening schools will be taken only post-August. The world over, however, schools are reopening with distancing and sanitization measures in place. In India, the HRD ministry has proposed a few guidelines that include reducing the number of students in classrooms. It has proposed that 30 to 40% of students be allowed to study from home option. Will also be allowed double shifts that may be introduced. Schools across the country may be reopened in a phased manner. The guidelines say that there should be 6 feet distance between students at any given time. But a lot of parents are skeptical about sending kids back to school. I want to go across to India today. Is Aishwarya Paliwal joining me live now to get a full update on where things are as far as the guidelines are concerned. Aishwarya, the HRD ministry has begun those high-level consultations. Before I go to the big questions, before I bring the experts, the parents, the principals in live on this show, what can you tell us? Do we have an idea of when these guidelines will be rolled out and when schools will be allowed to reopen?
Well, Shiv, it's a little difficult to come out with an exact date at the moment. But yes, from what we understand, the HRD ministry is holding high-level talks because obviously, the ministry understands and also the parents understand that children at some point of time will definitely have to go back to school. But also from the parents' end, there is fear, there is apprehension, because of which we see these high-level consultations taking place. From what we understand, definitely whenever the schools open up, and from what we can make out is that we will see the schools opening up maybe sometime, maybe in the next 1 month or so. But what we understand is that it will be reduced strength. That's for sure. We understand a maximum of 30 or 40% of students at a given point of time will be allowed to be in the classrooms. Also now certain changes will have to be made. If you remember, schools are the places where children, they do not care whether they touch each other, whether they wear masks or not. So strictness is something which we also understand is high on agenda. And the other thing that the HRD ministry is looking at is to make sure that the studies is very smooth for those who do not go to school and those who remain at home and study. So very high level consultations taking place. We expect the guidelines to be rolled out very soon.
Okay, thanks Aishwarya for that. The guidelines are going to be rolled out very, very soon, and then there will be a signal on when the actual reopening will begin. It will begin in a phased manner, but there will be very specific guidelines. Remember, safety of students is of paramount importance. That's the key here. Here are the questions that we're asking, and then we will bring in the stakeholders, the experts, the parents, a school principal to give you a sense of how all these stakeholders are really preparing for what is so far pretty much an unknown. 6 big questions. Question number 1 is, of course, when are the schools going to reopen? Question number 2, what will schools look like when they reopen? We know for a fact it's not going to be the same at all. Question number 3, are schools under pressure to reopen by any chance? Is there a risk to students? Question number 4, with homeschool, how do parents work? What about their own time? You know, because if children are going to remain at home for longer periods, how do parents leave those children at home and go back to work? Will syllabus need to be changed? Will syllabuses need to be changed to fit this new dynamic of a little bit of class and a little bit of home? And how do we ensure that economically weaker section students do not miss out as well? There are anxieties on that front. How are all those things going to be taken care of? I'm joined now by Dr. Onika Mehrotra, who's a well-known educationalist. Ajay Singh is principal of Genesis Global School, and Professor Nandita Abraham is also an educationist and is on our show this evening in her capacity as a student. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining me on this. Dr. Mehrotra, I want to come to you first as an educationist. Could you give us a sense, because we do know that the HRD ministry is formulating those guidelines now. Of course, schools will have already started to make preparations, you know, for what education is going to be like once the reopening happens. Can you give us an educationist's point of view of how things are being planned at this time?
So remember one thing, there'll be many things which will now be the new normal.
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen people roaming around with masks or cleaning their hands, sanitizing themselves or cleaning the area. So these things will be the new normal. We have to accept that social distancing, sanitizing, hand wash has to be followed. So that is one.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to tell you is that the special operating procedures have to be clearly laid down for schools, because you see we are we are handling vulnerable children. We cannot afford to take any risk whatsoever. So we have to also look into a broader perspective as to what happens as the time passes. Maybe August, I'm very hopeful. But having said that, technology will be the new way forward.
Yes.
So we have to blend education, of traditional education, with technology and ensure that every child gets it. You know, we cannot have disparity, as you rightly said, with the EWS children or people struggling to get technology hands-on, or parents who are working. So I, for one, are having constant webinar or workshops with the parents, apprising them, guiding them steps to step, because now the parents are playing the role of surrogate teachers. So we have to rope in the parents, involve them categorically.
I'll come to the parents in just a moment. I just want to take this one step at a time. Ajay Singh, I want to bring you in. You're the principal of a large school, the Genesis Global School. What preparations, can you give us of what your school is taken, and I can imagine that other schools will be doing the same, in preparation for these new HRD ministry guidelines about when schools will reopen?
Number one, the most important being the infrastructural changes we put in place before the children actually come in. And number two, and the most important, is to allay the fears of parents, so that confidence and trust is built up and they can join in. So this too should be the starting point. So we are having right from the entrance, the bus, everywhere, the sanitization process. How will the classes be sanitized? What is the distance we maintain? Initially planning for calling just class 9, 10, 11, 12 with alternate days. So that kind of planning has to be put in with infrastructural changes, and then the planning has to be communicated to the parent so that they have a trust element in that the school has done all the changes. So respiratory etiquettes. People have to talk about it. A child needs to know what is a respiratory etiquette. He needs to sneeze into his, that's one of the dreaded and fear factors. The moment you look at it, if somebody sneezes, everybody looks at it as a pariah. So these all things, handshaking etiquettes, a staggered school time, small sizes, meal times, the dining hall behavior. So we are looking at all the infrastructural changes. We had a long meeting for 3 or 4 days with all the elements, security, the way they come in the school, the way they will go out of the school, how the parents will have to line up once they come to pick them up, staggered picking up time, staggered coming in time. So the school time has to take into consideration coming in and going out as an important element in the time things settle down.
Okay. Professor Nandita Abraham, as a parent and someone who's in this space yourself, ma'am, what is your biggest anxiety? I mean, one of them is the suspense over when exactly schools are going to open. There are other anxieties like, you know, kids staying home for longer periods means there's pressure on parents as well. They'll have to sort of budget their time or limit the amount of time that they can go out to work in. What is the biggest anxiety for parents right now?
Ashib, I think very clearly the safety of the student is the most important, not just the student and the faculty members. And I think as a society overall, we need to be more empathetic. Whether it's companies allowing their people to work at home because they have their children at home. I don't think we should rush to open up because the schools need to be ready. Faculty need to be trained. This is the time to really reset what we call school education, because that's going to change completely. There will be some people who will study online maybe till December or next year because the schools are not ready. So this is really the time to look at policy, to look at faculty development, to look, of course, at safety and security measures, and also to see that how can students study better at home? Can one create an environment? Can you possibly, not just by using apps like Zoom, but can there be virtual, maybe like labs, software provided to the students? Or how is it possible for them to do this better? And we should not be in a rush to finish everything and do everything. I think as a nation or as the countries overall, we need to reset, take our time and make sure that our students and faculty are safe and have a healthy learning environment. You know, it's not just about keeping the timetable and making the students cram things up. Why not look at how you can learn overall? What can you use in the house to learn? How can you be more creative about learning? And how can you make it work better? I think that we see that there will be, at least for some time, online learning. Open up schools and colleges. Follow all your physical distancing, safety, security, etc. But use this time to reset what we consider education and make it something that is useful and good for students.
Okay, so it's an important point, Dr. Mehrotra, that it's an opportunity to reboot the education system, fix some of the flaws here as well. What do you know, let's assume that all precautions are being taken as far as safety. I'm sure that nobody is going to take any decision in a rush, you know, compromising the safety of students, least of all schools. But Dr. Mehrotra, what is that going to look like? What kind of changes do you foresee in the education system? You know, from syllabus to the number of hours that kids spend, you know, to possibility of alternate days and staggered classes and classrooms, fewer children in classrooms. Are those all possibilities?
There will be drastic changes, no two ways about it, especially the curriculum. The curriculum really has to be dynamic. You know, we have to, now, as I said rightly at the beginning of the statement, that we have to blend the education now. You know, we can't be my way or the highway. So there's a lot of blending which has to go through. I think we as administrators and principals really have to work, because education ultimately, sir, is child-centric. We are not here for securing higher marks or grade and achievement. We are focused on child's well-being. So a lot of focus, like I have already started, because we knew at the beginning of the session that schools are not going to open. So we didn't waste time. We started developing on a curriculum which we could manage online as well as when the children come back to school. So it has to be a blend. So I have, you know, got a thematic, extensive curriculum. I'm not going to, like, I think we should all do that. We're not going to cater to the entire 15-20 chapter in a book. We are going to concentrate on a chapter which will lead a smooth transition for the child to the next class. So our focus will be on, you know, productive learning, so that the child doesn't feel the hassle of the next class. The next class is a huge burden for the child if his concepts are not clear. So our focus will be on very thematic, and yes, it will be a fun-filled, structured kind of an activity.
Very interesting.
So various principals are working on it, have already.
So basically, you know, this is interesting because this means that the old structures, as Professor Nandita said, have to come crashing down. Mr. Singh, what are you telling your students? You know, I know that the students of Genesis Global School will be on, you know, Google or Zoom classes on a daily basis. What are you communicating to your students, sir, about what life is going to be like once school opens? Because they must be wondering, that is it going to be the same thing or is it going to be different? So are you already preparing the students?
Yes, we are already getting and reaching out to the students as well as the parents with the clear aim of letting them know that let us first adjust to the new normal.
Yeah.
And since we have already run successfully the class on the virtual mode using Microsoft Teams successfully, we need to now reach out to the next level.
Yeah.
If we look at the new education policy, there is a drastic change. By 2023, you will find the assessment policy will undergo a dramatic change. So we need to now cater to the entire learning methodologies and the pedagogies which cater to the new education policy. It clearly states robust learning. It clearly states experiential learning. It clearly states that we need to look at case studies and we need to inculcate critical thinking and all the skills necessary.
Yeah.
So there is a marked shift in the national curriculum, which the Secretary CBSE also had in the webinar for principals of IPSC schools, clearly mandated. Next step is be very flexible with the attendance. And of course, the line ahead would be blended learning, no doubt about it.
Very interesting.
But at the same time, the screen time has to be also balanced with how we inculcate the creative and the fun element. So there should be space for yoga, there should be space for music, art, drama, there should be space for clubs. We cannot only look at subjects. And when we mentioned the syllabus, one important component which we spoke about, we have already done the vertical planning and cut down accordingly the syllabus, especially for 6, 7, 8, where there is too much of flexibility. So we have kept those portions which connects. That's a
very interesting thing. If I was a student watching, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Singh, just one small clarification there. If I was a student watching, I would latch on to what you have just said. Two things. You've said syllabus going to be cut as well as a flexible assessment system. Can you clarify on the syllabus being cut? So you're saying that for classes 6, 7, 8, there's going to be less to study this year?
Yes, absolutely. That goes without doubt. And we have already shaped the entire curriculum for the year, I'm saying.
Yeah.
And we have brought it down where we can carry forward the entire syllabus in a very constructive manner, not the teacher-centric the assessment-centric which we are used to.
Yeah.
So more of in-depth learning for some topics, but those topics need to be connected to the higher level. Pick up those topics. Which are vertically
so
now, to the 10th and the 12th.
So now I want to pick up on the point that you made about flexible assessment. Professor Nandita, would you like to weigh in on that? This sounds fantastic. These are very, very difficult times, but a flexible assessment system, am I reading too much into it when I think that this could mean no exams or a different kind of assessment system at the end of every class? What is a flexible assessment system?
This is really amazing, and really going to school is about learning. It's not about the teacher, it's not about doing the exam. So then you need to look at how do you assess whether somebody has learned. That need not be by doing an exam. It can be by making a presentation, it can be by creating a podcast, it can be by writing a story. So I think that this is possibly a really good thing that's going to come out of this entire pandemic for us, that let's get out of the entire rote system that we are in. Let's focus on learning. How best can a student learn? And then assess that. Really, pedagogy has a lot of things like Bloom's taxonomy, etc., where you really focus on what are you assessing. And by doing exams, you're not assessing deep learning at all. So I think this is a really good opportunity.
Okay, it's a fantastic opportunity. Mr. Singh, once again on the issue of examinations, is that very much a live issue that you are considering right now? Having a different kind of assessment system that may or may not actually involve examinations? I know it's a large question, not everything is certain right now, but not having exams and replacing it with something else at the end of every year, a possibility?
It is a possibility. And if you look at and connect it with the new education policy, it directly connects to what has been mentioned in the new education policy, which will just be released by the government. The guidelines are very clear on that. And it's a very progressive step. Ultimately, we need to know how and what the process of learning. Till today, we have been more concerned about the what of learning. So entire shift will be so interesting that the children will have the joy of learning in coming to an answer which may not be right. It's all about not giving the right answer. It's about finding the process. It's about understanding the concept. And that is where the assessment becomes so crucial. So there'll be group discussions, there may be a presentation, there may be a project-based learning,
Yes.
there may be a research paper, a small research paper, there may be small multiple choice tests to understand the deepness of that clarity of the concepts. So multifaceted options are available, which we have started trying already on our children and then enjoying it.
I think, this is a very heartening discussion because speaking to experts like yourselves tells me that everyone is prepared. Everyone recognizes that this is an unprecedented situation that everyone is in. The children are in a situation they've never seen before. Teachers and principals are in a situation where they've got to act on their toes. Parents have a very difficult job as well because the kids are at home for, who knows how much longer. So there is a plan in place, and I think everyone watching will at least take back, some heart that there is something to do. There is a roadmap. There are steps that are being followed, and once these guidelines come, they will be implemented in an expert and professional manner. Ajay Singh, Dr. Onika, and Professor Nandita, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Learned a lot and looking forward to interacting you with again once we get those guidelines.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.